Welcome back to Twin Terror. I'm David.
And I'm Gary.
And today we're going to talk about American exceptionalism, being from America. And having an opinion that trumps facts.
Yes.
And today we are going to be experts on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yay!
Otherwise known as DEI.
Yes.
Which I imagine folks in the South are really upset because DEI
means Daryl Earnhardt Incorporated.
Right. Raise hell, praise Dale.
Yeah, I was always confused why Trump and MAGA were so against Dale Earnhardt. I mean, Dale Earnhardt, he's iconic in NASCAR. And
exactly.
The good old boys in the South love Dale Earnhardt.
Got their number 3 black flags waving around and cheering things. But no, that's not what DEI stands for.
It isn't?
Probably one of the things that upsets them.
Yes. Yes, the diversity, equity, inclusion co-opted Daryl Earnhardt Incorporated.
So I'll let you give a brief historical background since you're the bigger expert.
Okay, so I was confused. Of course, that's a general state of mind for me, and this is for entertainment purposes only.
Which is why we're confused.
I was a little confused about critical race theory and DEI. And so I did a little studying, which, most MAGA folks don't bother to do. So critical race theory, CRT, which is not capital rate 2, they co-opted yet another
we'll never get this
acronym
started here.
So CRT, critical race theory, is an academic and legal framework that denotes that systemic racism is part of society, from education and housing to employment, healthcare, and the justice system.
I was about to say, you're using a lot of big words, and I realize he's reading off.
I am reading it, yeah. I wanted to make sure I got it right. It's basically, the scholars were looking at some of the civil rights acts that were passed in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and they were curious why we weren't making the progress that you would expect to see with these laws in place. And as they were doing more research and studying into it, they were finding that there was systemic racism built in and bias built into, like, the court systems, like laws that would on average seem like they should be colorblind and just equally applied, were in fact having more of an impact on certain races than others. And so that's how critical race theory started. They just wanted to understand why the system was acting, it was, even though there was solutions in place, the solutions weren't having the desired effect, and they were trying to understand this. And MAGA and Trump and all the far right, they're running around saying how critical race theory is bad, because why would you want to understand why racism is still present, and it shouldn't be taught in schools. And it's like, okay, critical race theory maybe at the college level.
Yeah, like macroeconomics is taught at the college level, not at the elementary school level. So get over yourselves, but you got to put fear into people.
Yeah, because, when we were in second grade and we took macroeconomics, it's just like,
oh, no.
Look, but Mrs. McGrath, if President Nixon keeps printing money like that, inflation is going to go crazy. You got to keep a hand on the money supply.
Exactly.
I mean, we were very advanced for second graders. Right?
She jumped into her MGB and drove off.
Yes, she did. She did have an MGB.
I don't think she had that one very long. I think it was a dog compared to her previous MGB.
It was an MGB. What do you expect?
It had the spoked wheels though with the knockoffs.
Oh, it was it was like a
green color?
Yeah, it was a British racing green.
Yeah, I think she had like an orangey one before.
Yeah. Mrs. McGrath had this.
She was the elementary school teacher, had the cool cars.
She was kind of artsy. She did the rock tumbling and stuff. Yeah, she was great.
Love Mrs. McGrath.
So, but I diverse. So you got CRT taught at the college level. MAGA, Fox Entertainment, and all the far right are like, we don't want to expose our children to this. And then we've got diversity, equity, inclusion.
Yes.
DEI, not to be confused with CRT.
Raise hell, praise Dale.
Yeah. So DEI, it's more about putting equity in the workforce, and equity not being the same as equality. Some groups are underrepresented, and you need to make more of an effort to have them be represented in fair numbers in the workforce, for example. Do you have any other examples?
I think basically, but what's happened is that the right-wing news media and the right-wing politicians have spun a tale that DEI is to help brown people get jobs at the expense of white people.
Yes.
They had to simplify the message, play on people's prejudices and their fears, and that's how it's represented. But that's not true, because part of DEI includes women,
LGBTQ plus,
military veterans. These are all groups represented by DEI. Now, I imagine if you had some Trumper out there pontificating about DEI is bad, and you look them right in the eye and say, so you don't think military veterans should have any additional representation in the government or in the private sector for jobs? Watch them shut the hell up. They're not part of that. Actually, they are.
Yeah.
And then what are they going to say?
Yeah, handicapped people, African American community.
Well, yeah, they don't care if it's brown people. You have to hit them with the women and start with military veterans. Mm-hmm. That'll stop them right there. Yeah. That's the brick wall that stops them.
Yeah, exactly. And I was watching an interview where they were talking to this lady, and she was going on and on and on about how evil this was and how bad it was on CRT. And they said, well, could you explain what it is? And she's like, no, I really don't understand what it is, but I know it's bad.
Right.
Yeah, because that's what I've been told.
On TikTok, a lot of people catch the rate. It's like, DEI is racism, which tells you everything you need to know. They think it's only for brown people, and it doesn't represent anybody else but brown people.
Yeah, it's just they're not saying the silent part out loud, but you could sure infer the hell out of it from that.
Right. So I'm going to look at the energy as we get some minutes in here. I'm going to look at the energy around DEI as it currently is in the United States and where things are going with it. So we start at the foundation of the reading is the Two of Wands. This is going to touch in with what Gary was saying. Ace of Wands, you come up with this idea, we've got a problem here. The folks in the workplace and even in the government don't look like the folks in the USA. Mm-hmm. And if you look at like the interns in the Trump administration the first time around versus the Biden administration, you'll see what I mean. The Trump, they're all white, and mostly men. In the Biden one, they are an equal mix of men and women, an equal mix of whites and non-whites. It looks like the United States.
Yes.
What's crossing? What's the problem? It's the corruption. It's just the messaging to undermine.
Create fear.
Yeah, it's creating fear. It's creating panic. They're here to take your jobs. The Two of Wands is basically looking at it's like, the Ace of Wands was, we have this great program, let's put it in place. The Two of Wands is, how come it's not working?
Yeah.
This literally is from CRT to DEI, and it's vilified. When the whole reason of this out here was to shine a light on what's holding up the employment and the implementation of what seems to be a really good idea. Yeah. And it's shining a light on the racism that's inherent in the United States that was in the closets for a while. But when a certain guy got elected and took office in 2017, people came out loud and proud.
Yeah, in 2016, that went from a candle to a spotlight.
Yeah. Racism is alive and well in the U.S. In the past, the Seven of Cups. A society is a mixed bag of things. You take the good with the bad. If you have... It's integrity. It's card of integrity. DEI was trying to integrate people into the workplace.
I think in this case, they were confused why, these DEI, these, civil rights and women's rights and all this stuff, all these actions were being put in place, but we're not getting the results. The results were confusing.
So they've shined a light on it. They have an understanding of what's going on. You don't have to do anything more than turn on Fox News and entertainment to understand what the problem is here. Yeah. Overarching energy is the Tower. This is that pushback from those who are corrupt and don't want to integrate. They want to segregate rather than integrate. So, you look at this card of segregation and integration. They want to tear it down. And DEI, at least as initials, will probably be torn down. That just probably means that they'll have to come up with a new name for it and a new branding with new initials that the folks that are currently clutching their pearls over this aren't going to understand. But the whole idea, the whole energy right now is to try and undo this process.
They need to undo the DEI.
And the lesson to be learned is the Ten of Swords. They may be successful for a short time, but you're not doing yourself any favors by doing this. Because if you only... This is how apartheid starts, basically. Let's call it what it is. Mm-hmm. When 5% of South Africa was white and they controlled 95% of the wealth and power in the country, that only lasts for so long before it comes crashing down and brought to a halt. Yeah. Outcome is the Knight of Cups. So with DEI, they want to bring it down and kill it.
Put an end to it.
Put an end to it. But something is going to replace it. Again, we don't live in a country of apartheid. We live in a country where all people's opinions should matter. And it's going to be a struggle to get there. But, working together, we'll get there.
Do you want to throw a clarifier on what might come?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't need to throw any clarifiers.
No clarifiers.
No clarifiers. Not even a Clairol clarifier.
Oh, my goodness.
Come on, cards.
Yeah, jeez.
Okay.
All right. So, that was interesting.
Wasn't that fun?
Yeah, so...
You don't need to watch his readings. This is the time where you can go refill your coffee, put in some creamer in there. Maybe check to see what Libby posted up this morning because it's probably way more.
That's always going to be
than
more
this.
interesting than what I've got going on here. Okay, so
or if you really want the National Enquiry, go to Rosie's and find out if space aliens have eaten Barack Obama's head or something like that.
Okay, hold on just a second, folks. Okay, so we're back, and we're going to look at the future of DEI. I had to like mix up my cards to make sure they all came out perfectly well. Right?
Exactly.
That whole black arts conspiracy.
Actually, the only thing he paused to say, where are we going to go with this next? Well, we talked about the present. Okay, let's talk about the future.
Okay, the future.
That literally was the 10-second
pause.
pause.
No nonsense. I'm fixing my card.
The behind the scenes.
They have seen the behind the scenes. Okay, so what's the future look like? Okay, so right now it looks like we're charging forth without a care in the world. We're recklessly charging forward on trying to dismantle DEI.
Yeah, at your own peril.
The cross is the King of Swords. It's just like, this is probably the scholars saying, look, this is what DEI and critical race theory is. This is what it's not. You don't need to dismember this thing because it's, this is kind of an unemotional, this is what it is, period.
You can do it at your own peril. Make America white again.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Underneath it, we got the Six of Cups. It's that whole, we want things to be like they were in the 50s.
Now, pick your century.
Yeah, pick the century. We're not going to say which 50s, but, back when things were just simpler.
They were just white. They were all white.
Yes, when the only bread you could choose from was Wonder Bread.
Oh, God. Not even that. It's just sort of like which white ethnicity were you going to ignore? Was it going to be the Irish or the Italians?
Yeah. So, so the future of DEI, CRT, or I guess DI really, we're in the past. We were on a new journey. We're trying to make things better. Biden implemented a lot of DEI policies. Where I work, they created positions for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I think it's great. I think we need to make sure that everyone is represented equally and equitably and fairly. There's a difference between equal and equitable.
Yes.
And we were on that journey.
Equitable gets rid of the folks that, you'd rather hire an unqualified black woman than a qualified white male. No, equity is like, equality would be, we might have to do that. Equity is, no, we don't have to do that. But why don't you try a little harder trying to find a qualified black female to do the job?
So, okay, Triggered Gary has just been activated. for those of you that've been around, get back over here. Um, my first full-time job was working for an airline, and if you're familiar with George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, it's because my airline used it for an advertising campaign in the 80s and 90s.
I like that. I like the fact that they used that.
Oh yeah, everyone knows Rhapsody in Blue. Mm-hmm. And I met my wife there, and we fly all over the world on this airline, and it really gets up my nose. Like when 9/11 happened, everyone was sad.
Where are you going with this? Hurry up!
I'm gonna get there. It's when there's an air crash, it doesn't matter what carrier it is, you feel bad. These are your peoples. It doesn't matter if it's American Airlines or Delta or anyone else. You're all part of the same family. So when we had this accident over in DC. With the military helicopter and that CRJ, and Trump comes in and says that, it's because of DEI. That you want to, if you ever want to see my hackles get raised, that got it. It's like, you SOB. First of all, you don't know what caused this, right? They're still investigating this. And his rationale was, well, I have common sense, so I know it was DEI. It's just like,
you're the freaking president of the United States. You should have all the backgrounds of all the pilots and everything. You have access to that information.
Yeah, it's not DEI. You had a hiring shortfall. You didn't have enough people in that damn tower to, there were mistakes made. But it had nothing to do with the fact that it was DEI related. And the fact that he took that, politicized it to move his political agenda forward really got up my nostrils. Sorry, rant over.
Why is it up your nostrils? You doing coke?
Yeah. Me and Don Jr. Current situation for the future of DEI, looking out in the future. it's about as appropriate. See what's out there, see what we can do, what's coming in.
Well, it's also funny because, MAG is all about, we don't want immigrants coming in, and Elon wants H-1B visas coming in.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I think you just hit that with the overarching energies that Two of Pentacles. They're as far as diversity, equity, inclusion, they want to include certain people only.
Right.
So it's that balancing act.
There's too much inclusion.
Yeah. Too much diversity. If everyone was coming from Norway and Sweden, Trump would be all for immigration, right? And inclusion. But right now it's that balancing act of trying to make sure that things are being done equitably. But at the same time, you've got to balance that against the messaging that's coming out of corporate media. Lesson to be learned is take your time and think about these things before you act. You shouldn't be rushing in like Sir Lancelot going to the wedding.
Monty Python.
Yes, Holy Grail reference. Think about these things. There are consequences. Some that are you're going to see right away, and some that are coming at you. Outcome, Three of Cups. They're ultimately going to find a solution. DEI is not going away. We will get through it.
It'll come back as a different name. They may. I'm sure they will get rid of it for a while. Yeah. But how long?
Yeah. It'll. Yeah. It's like Dave said. It could just come back rebranded.
Yeah. Now, well, I could certainly see this administration trying to get rid of it. The whole MAGA movement is about cis heterosexual white men.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, no, apparently not. And Christians. And if as long as any policy supports those things, they're on board with it. They're against DEI because they view it as non-white.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at the end of the day, and they can't define what it is. Just this is what we're told, so we just do what we're told.
Ultimately, this administration may put it on ice for the next few years here, and try and get rid of as much as they can. until the next one comes in, and then looks at it again, and maybe they'll even include
broaden DEI.
broaden it to include socioeconomic backgrounds, because shouldn't that also include people who have come from impoverished families? Because guess what? Poverty knows no gender. Poverty knows no skin color. Now, in the United States, the game's slanted towards white men.
Yeah.
You're going to find less white men on the poverty scale than anybody else. But, if you give folks education chances and opportunities to get loans and things along those lines, you're going to balance that out. So folks that don't have money tend to stay not having money because the game's rigged against them. So part of the equity is unrigging that game so that they have a shot. They might still have to work harder than he or I ever would have to, but it gives them a much leveler playing field with which to work off of. Yep. If you don't want to work, you don't want to work. That's fine. That's a choice. But if you do work, you should be able to see some rewards from it as opposed to being smacked down because of something you can't control.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, rant over. Thank you very much for watching this video, supporting our channel. Do appreciate it.
If you like these videos, give us a thumbs up, subscribe. We put out a new video every night at midnight. And leave a comment. I read them all, respond to many.
And here comes his DEI card of the day.
Secret card. Okay.
It's not a secret if you show it to him.
Well, it's not a secret anymore. It was a secret until I pulled it out of the deck. 6 of Pentacles. So this is all about giving back, making things equal. There's a lot of wealth out there. You don't have to hoard it for yourself. Be generous. Give some back to people that need a little help.
Yep.
That's actually a good DEI card.
Actually, it really is.
Very appropriate.
As we talk about the economic differences. Thank you. We'll catch you on the next video. Take care.
Bye.